The alley was silent, hidden behind a row of overflowing dumpsters. Rainwater streamed down the cracked pavement, pooling into muddy puddles under the dim glow of a broken streetlight. The world moved on, cars rushed past, people hurried home, but beneath one forgotten corner, a faint, muffled sound struggled to break through the noise. Inside a thin, torn plastic grocery bag, something moved. Tiny paws scratched weakly against the plastic, the sound barely audible over the wind. A small whimper followed, fragile, fading, and almost swallowed by the rain. It was a newborn puppy. Her fur was damp, her body frail, her breath shallow. She had been tossed away like trash, sealed inside the plastic bag, left to die in the cold. Her siblings had stopped moving hours ago. Only she remained, her will to live stronger than the darkness around her. Every few seconds, her tiny chest rose and fell, fighting against the suffocating plastic pressing against her face. Her paws twitched desperately, as if begging for help that would never come. Somewhere nearby, a door slammed, and the echo startled her. She tried to yelp, but no sound came, just a faint gasp for air. Rain began to pour harder, soaking the bag, pressing it down tighter. The world was indifferent, but miracles, sometimes, hide in moments no one sees. At dawn, a sanitation worker named Lucas parked his old garbage truck behind the alley. He was used to the sight of trash bags, broken furniture, and food waste. But that morning, something felt different. As he lifted a pile of soaked cardboard, he heard it, a soft, irregular scratching sound. He paused. It was faint but unmistakable. He leaned down, searching, and then he saw it, a torn plastic bag trembling slightly. At first, he thought it was a rat, but when he carefully pulled the bag open, the sight froze him. Inside was a tiny puppy, eyes closed, soaked, her body barely moving. Her paws twitched, pressing weakly against his glove. Lucas gasped. "Oh my God," he whispered, tearing the plastic open fully and scooping her into his hands. She wasn't breathing right. Her chest fluttered erratically. Without thinking, Lucas unzipped his jacket and tucked her inside, letting his body heat warm her cold skin. "Come on, baby, stay with me," he murmured, his voice trembling. He dropped everything and drove straight to the nearest animal shelter. The staff rushed her into the back room, wrapping her in towels and placing a tiny oxygen tube near her mouth. "She's in critical condition," the vet said. "Her body temperature is dangerously low. She might not make it." Lucas stood there, soaking wet, refusing to leave. "Do whatever it takes," he said quietly. "She's already fought too hard to die now." For hours, the shelter staff worked. The puppy lay under a heat lamp, her heartbeat faint but steady. Slowly, her breathing began to regulate. Her paws twitched again, not from panic this time, but from life returning to her veins. When her eyes finally fluttered open, they reflected pure innocence, two tiny brown orbs staring at the world for the first time. Lucas smiled softly. "Welcome back, little fighter," he whispered. The days that followed were fragile. The puppy was named Hope because, as Lucas said, that's what she had when no one else did. Every few hours, the shelter staff fed her tiny drops of milk from a syringe. She was too weak to stand, too scared to make a sound. Whenever she heard a rustle of plastic, she would shiver uncontrollably, her small body remembering the darkness that almost took her life. Lucas visited every morning before his shift. He would sit by her cage, talk softly, and sometimes just let her sleep in his palm. Slowly, she began to heal not just her body, but her spirit. Weeks turned into months. Hope learned to walk, then to run. Her fur filled out golden brown with small white patches. She wagged her tail for the first time one morning when Lucas entered the room. It was a moment so simple yet so powerful. Everyone watching smiled through tears. But what touched Lucas the most was how she'd always come running to him, as if she remembered who had pulled her from the darkness. Every time he left, she'd whine softly until he promised to return. By the time she turned 6 months old, the shelter declared her ready for adoption. Dozens of families came and went, but Hope would shrink back from strangers. Only when Lucas entered did she light up, tail wagging furiously, eyes glowing with trust. The shelter director smiled knowingly. "Looks like she's already chosen her person." Lucas laughed, his eyes misty. "Yeah, I think she has." That day, he signed the adoption papers. Hope was finally going home, not to the cold, not to the dark, but to a warm, safe place filled with love. Life changed for both of them. Lucas, who had lived alone for years, now woke up to gentle paws nudging his face, and a tail thumping against the bed. Hope followed him everywhere, the kitchen, the truck, the park. Every time they crossed a street, she'd glance up at him as if making sure he was still there. But no matter how much time passed, one fear lingered: plastic bags. The moment she heard the sound of one crinkling, she'd freeze, ears flat, tail between her legs. Lucas would kneel down and hold her close. "You're safe now, Hope," he'd whisper. "Nothing will ever hurt you again." Over the months, she learned to trust the world again. Her favorite spot became the park bench by the river, where Lucas would sit with his coffee, and she'd curl beside his boots, watching the sunrise. One morning, as golden light touched the water, Lucas took out an old photograph, the one from the shelter where she lay wrapped in a towel, eyes half closed. He looked down at her now, healthy, strong, eyes full of life. "You did it, kid," he murmured. "You made it." Hope looked up at him, tail wagging gently. It was as if she understood that the world that once tried to end her story had failed. She had written her own ending, one filled with love, warmth, and second chances. As the morning breeze carried the scent of rain, Lucas smiled and whispered, "You taught me something, Hope. That no matter how broken life gets, there's always something worth saving." Hope pressed her head against his knee, and for a moment the world stood still, a man and his dog, two souls who had found each other by fate, proving that sometimes, even in the darkest places, life finds a way to shine. And somewhere in the quiet hum of the city, a plastic bag fluttered past, empty, harmless, forgotten, because Hope wasn't trash anymore. She was a miracle, a survivor, a symbol of life refusing to give up.